everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Real Women Talk. Woo!
Because we are real women.
And Real Women Talk.
Hey.
So if you don't know who we are, let us introduce ourselves. My name is Shavon Carter. I am one of the facilitators and members of Real Women Rock Incorporated, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. And my beautiful host is...
Hello, I am Trenace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women Rock, and we are sisters.
We do life together, so y'all gonna get all the life.
All of the life. This is so good. I'm so excited.
I know we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time. Trenace, before we get into what this podcast is about, can you tell them a little bit about Real Women, since you are the founder of Real Women Rock?
Of course I can, y'all. So Real Women was founded in 2013, and we exist to create safe spaces for women to do personal development work on themselves. We call it soul work. And as a result of that, we do it in sister circles. So we host in-person and virtual sister circles across the country and abroad. We are based in the Washington, D.C. metro area, and we are growing outward in a big way. And one of those ways is this podcast.
Yes. So I have been a part of Real Women since the beginning also. So Trenace started in 2013, and I was at one of the very first sister circles. So sister circles is what we call them when we get together and we do soul work, like Trenace said. And we wanted this podcast to be an extension of the Real Women Sister Circle experience. So when you come to a sister circle, it's a private session. It's not recorded. We can't give you a snippet of what happened in the circle, because we want to create a safe space. We mean that literally. We want to have a safe space where women can just come in, be themselves, take off the mask, the titles, and just talk about what's going on in their lives. And so people are always trying to figure out what's going on, and we can't really share too much. We can share the experience and overview of it, but we can't talk about, the nuts and bolts of what we talk about.
You had to be there to experience it.
And we want everybody to be able to experience a real women's sister circle. But if you can't, here's a little extension of it so you can get a feel for what it's like. So that's what this podcast is all about. Our goal is to have real, honest dialogue about topics that impact women.
I feel like we are giving you a sneak peek into what it is that we do in Real Women Sister Circles. Through this avenue, there will be a lot of us talking and doing some sister share. We'll invite some sisters on sometimes to do some share. And it's going to be real talk. It's going to be authentic, exactly what we're thinking and feeling, and non-judgmental, because who needs that, right?
So. We need enough of that going on in the world.
Absolutely. What do you think we want folks to feel as they're listening and experiencing us?
Yeah, so we want them to feel understood. We want you to be like, you know what? You get me. You understand me. You know my life. You just you get me. You see me. That's one of the things that we want our women to be able to feel. We also want them to feel entertained a little bit. We got personality, so we want you to feel, entertained and also enlightened. We want you to walk away with something. This is just not for your viewing pleasure, but we want you to walk away with some nuggets that you can apply to your life.
Yeah. So we want you to laugh, because we are both comedians in another life. Want you to be inspired. But most of all, we want you to feel like we relate to what you're going through. So I just think this is an avenue for us to really connect in another way, on another level, with a lot of women.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. So, we got some segments, right? Because we can't have a podcast without segments. So this first segment, and we'll walk you through each one so that you'll get a feel for how the podcast will be structured. But this first section or segment is Real Talk.
Mm.
In this segment, we're just going to highlight some things that might be on our mind, maybe something that happened on the weekend, or just an instance where we want to share with you real talk. This what happened to me today.
You know
Okay.
what comes to mind when you say that, like when you're in
Mhm.
a conversation with somebody, you're like, okay, so real talk, like,
Right.
like for real, what happened for real? So, and we
Right.
just get to kind of just let out whatever happened between the last time we had the podcast and this one, we get to share it. So I love that.
Exactly. Exactly. So this real talk moment, since this is our first episode, we want to do some real talk about who we are as
Mhm.
individuals. So Trenace, let's start with you. Real talk. Who are you?
Oh, okay. So real talk.
Mm-hmm.
I am this and that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So if you have ever experienced real women, one of the things that we have learned together, that we have kind of latched on to together, is that we are this and that. Shout out to our facilitator, Sherry Phaeton.
Hey.
Yes, hey girl, hey, who introduced this to us. But the idea that it is okay for me to have different aspects of me, to express myself in different ways, to show different expressions of me, because they are all me. So I am a preacher, and I have been a church girl all my life, and love that aspect of me, love that expression of me, and not but and saying I am just as righteous as I am ratchet.
That's right. We cannot.
Meaning I am a full grown woman who has thoughts and feelings, and not afraid to express them. And I've had to evolve to that, because I thought as a preacher, I'm not supposed to, as a Christian, others, can put themselves under that umbrella. I'm not supposed to have certain thoughts or feelings, but I do. I still have them. And
Mhm.
so I'm this and that. And so I'm a preacher, I'm a singer, I'm a creative, I write, I'm a mom. I have two beautiful children who are not babies anymore. Uh,
Mhm.
they are 14 and 27 at the time of
Okay.
this. So just, oh. Um, and I am a wife of 24 years. Everybody watching, everybody listening should be clapping right now. Just go ahead
Well,
and clap right now. 'Cause
Ooh,
24
honey.
years. That is
Listen.
2 dozen. I'm just saying that was two
Mm,
dozen
mm,
Krispy
mm,
Kremes. So
mm.
we've been through roller coaster rides, ups and downs, and we're still here. I'm so appreciative to him and his support of all the things that I do. And so I've got a lot going on. I'm an administrator at a college, and so I'm really proud of being a leader in education as well. And there are different aspects to me. I think if I had to answer it and sum it up, I am this and that.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
So,
it. Sherry blessed us with that so
oh my
much. She gave
God.
us this and that because it makes so much sense.
It
Yep.
makes so much sense. And even I've begun using it when it's just how I'm feeling that day, even, like it's okay for me to feel upset or bored or angry or sad, because I'm this and I'm that. And there's no, I'm going to experience joy, but right now, this is how I feel. And
Yep.
it's okay to be right here where I am. I'm this and I'm that in so
Yeah.
many ways that has blessed me.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
period.
So,
Um,
Siobhan,
okay.
real talk. Who are you?
Girl, let me tell you who I am. I
Tell me.
my core, the essence of me, I am serenity, I am solace, I am brilliance, I am delight, I am love. That is who I
Mm,
am at my core.
that is delicious.
Delicious, right? That's yummy goodness.
Mm.
I had to go through this exercise when I was going through my coaching program, and that's one of the things that we had to do, like this essence exercise. And not but and I am multifaceted. I am ratchet. I am from the South. I am a
Hey.
Florida girl. I am a lifesaver. That's what I
Mm,
call it. I
mm,
savor life. I love to live. out loud. I am unapologetically me. I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
And y'all hear me? That's showing up the truth. Okay, I'm just saying.
I lived in a box for so long, and we'll talk about that at some point, that I am out of the box and I love it out here. Like, I will not be put in a box. I will not be limited. I will be who I authentically am. And that's just it. And so, and I don't apologize for that. So, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I live in the DC area. I am a leader in the federal government. I am an author. I'm a publisher. I am a business owner. I am a significant other. I'm a daughter. I don't have any children, so I am living a child-free life. And I love to travel. I love to eat. I love to eat.
Yes, you do. You do. You do. I love this. I love
Oh
this
my God.
because I get to hear us declare, kind of just express who we are, who we have experienced each other
Yeah.
as well. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. You made me think about, I love frogs. That's a whole thing that people
Uh,
don't understand, but
yeah.
we can get into those things later. They just make me happy because people don't like them, and they're underdogs, and
Yeah.
I'm like, but and then they go through so much change and metamorphosis. So I love
Yeah.
outdoors and nature. Yes, we get to express all of who we are on this
We
thing.
are. And I've never heard you talk about the frogs and why you love them. And that's so beautiful, because I am people. I do not. I am people. It's me. I don't like
People
dogs.
is you.
Right, right. But it's so you, though, because you are that person where you see the beauty in people, and so it's so characteristic of who you are. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Real talk.
Yeah,
Real talk.
we'll talk. We'll talk. So we'll do that every week with different things that just are on our heart to share. So stay tuned for that. All right. So let's get into our next segment, deep dive.
Oh Lord.
We're
Here we
going to do some deep diving. So, in this segment, we expound on a nugget that was shared in maybe the most recent sister circle, or maybe a previous sister circle that we've had in Real Women. And we just go into a little bit of depth on this show, maybe some nuggets that we pulled from it, a highlight or something that really hit home for us, that we want to talk about, individually and together.
go.
So, deep dive.
Can I go deep? Can I
Uh-huh. Yep,
deep?
we're gonna get into it.
All right, to get into it. Let's go on and take a dive. So we're starting this podcast off, inaugural episode. So let's just, can women get along?
Mm,
Talking about real women. We're talking about sisterhood. We have these sister circles, and we are bringing women together. Our effort is to bring them together in a safe space, in a non-judgmental space. And so we have discussed this at length in Real Women, and we
yeah.
are extending this to you. And we would love to know what your thoughts are on whatever platform you're watching this while we share. Can women really get along? And so just thinking about your journey with women, Shavon, what are your thoughts? I'll share mine with you after, but what has your journey looked like as it relates to women?
Honey, let me tell you. So the short answer is yes. I believe women can get along now. That is my answer.
Right.
So if you were to ask me that before, I don't know. I don't know what my answer would have been. So my journey with women has been, has some joys and pains. And I was thinking about that a little more today. One, I grew up as an only child.
Yeah.
So I am used to being in my own little world. Nobody bother me. I'm used to doing my own thing, which is probably part of the reason why I just do me.
Yeah.
And I had girlfriends in high school, grade school. I had a best friend and all of that. So I had, relationships with women, but it wasn't until I went to college and I had to have roommates is where the dynamic started to shift with women, because I wasn't used to living in close proximity to women. Like, my mom was there, but she ain't paying me no mind. She was in her room doing her own thing, or
Right.
just leaving me be. So I didn't have to deal with interacting with women on a close, intimate level as it relates to having a roommate. So that's when the dynamic started to shift for me, because I'm used to being in my own little world, and I'm not used to having to communicate when someone else wants to communicate. I'll do it when it's time for me and when I feel like it. But when I have a roommate who is happy-go-lucky and wants to talk in the morning and I do not
all the time.
I didn't know how to navigate that. So I would just shut down. I would stay within. And then my roommate is like, well, what is going on with you? I don't want to talk about it. Now she thinks something about me. Now I feel misunderstood. And now I create emotional distance between me and women. And so
Can I say something real quick about that? That is so interesting, because what you just said, there's a whole judgment happening on her end. And it just hasn't been discussed. So now she think you stuck up or whatever. And you just have a whole makeup where you haven't had to do this before. That's like really enlightening for me. Go ahead.
Yeah. And she was just like, she believes you're supposed to talk even when you don't feel like it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk, but I didn't communicate that. So I'm just quiet. So now I seem moody. I seem distant. I seem unapproachable, when really I am wrestling with, I am in a space that I don't want to be in. I just want to be in my own space, but I don't know how to communicate that. I don't know how to articulate that. And so that created me being around women and having fun and doing all these things, but the emotional distance. So we can be in the same house, but not be close. And that's how, my relationships. And so because I internalized that I was misunderstood, that I was moody, I was too much for women, because I was dealing with my own stuff, then that meant I didn't value the relationships. Now, I had friends, like I said, but it wasn't the close relationships. They didn't get me, or I didn't think they did. And so that morphed into me wanting women around, but not really. So it's not valuing the relationships with women until I started to go through life. Life started to happen, and I realized that I really needed women. So it was a journey for me to get to the point of, I need women in my life, and women can get along. Yeah.
Wow. I can see threads of similarity with your story and mine. Because I grew up with brothers in the house, and a very close, large family, as well as a large church family. I was always connected to people growing up. So I didn't have that same level of isolation that you felt. What that ended up doing for me. And it's so funny how two separate scenarios, right? But it can yield some similar stuff, I guess. It's crazy. So what I felt was, I've always been this overachiever. I've always wanted to do really well. And I kind of track that back to wanting to really please like my daddy, and, who wasn't always in the home and that kind of thing. So I've always wanted to please. So I'm doing well in school and all that kind of stuff. And all of that was applauded in my communities, in my family, and in my church. And what ended up happening was, as kids my age, especially the girls my age, hated on me. You hear me? Before haters was a thing, I was experiencing it, and it just felt so unfair. Like I would come home from choir rehearsals or theater, just crying because people, you think you all that. I just want to be your friend, it's kind of just you to like me. And so my feelings were constantly hurt. And so what I ended up doing was trying to fit in. I ended up dimming my light and trying to do what everybody else. I remember telling some of my cousins that I'd had sex before I'd actually had sex, because they would have
just to fit in with them,
and be able to have conversation like, I'm not too high and mighty. I've had sex, just if you'd have asked me how it happened, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But it's so crazy. And it was probably in young adulthood, college age, flip side for you that
Mhm.
I began to embrace sisterhood because,
Wow.
girl, right? So because I joined a sorority, I was away from the people who, I keep using that word, but hated on me. So I'm starting anew and afresh, and people received me well in
Mhm.
college. And so it was a opening for me, an opening of a door for me for sisterhood in college. And then when I got married, I don't know where this thought process comes from, but somewhere down the line, I thought once you get married, you got to forsake all others, not just other millions, but
Yeah,
but
everybody.
you
Yeah,
can't have friends no more. You know how you've experienced
yeah.
those women and like, she disappeared, girl. She got
Right.
married and we ain't seen her no more. That was me. And
Well, they said to leave me, please. You think, it's literally, it's like, oh, I can't go talk to nobody else but my husband. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
can't go. I can't to go to the party. I can't go to visit my friend out of town no more because I got a husband and
Right.
that kind of thing. And so people literally were like, from college, y'all heard from Trenace? No, she got married. She did, and then I did it in 90 days. So it was like, like she got what? I just talked to her. I just talked to her.
Right.
So so I abandoned a lot of my sister relationships that I had built that I treasured, but thought, I prioritized my marriage over them. And Greg wasn't even asking me to do that. I
Right.
just did
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, I was out here still trying to be overachiever and impress and all that kind of stuff, but on a leadership level now, isolated. So it
Mm.
took me isolating all the way on the other end
Mhm.
because I did not have these sister relationships to be safe around, to hold me up when I'm, out here as a leader. I thought I got to pour out instead of, and I didn't think I could trust anybody with my most sacred personal thoughts because I'm a leader out here in different ways.
Mhm.
And I guess it wasn't until Real Women that I really just started really opening up in a real way with
Mhm.
women. So that's been my women journey. It's sort of
Mhm.
flipped on its head for both of us.
Yeah.
I guess I'll answer the short answer now. I do believe women can get along, but my adult take on it is it has to be in a safe, non-judgmental space
Yeah.
where we are putting our thoughts about what's right and what's wrong and all that on the back burner for
Mm.
for the sake of this woman's um sacred space. So
Yeah.
we are creating a place for her in our lives
Mhm.
that is and we can get to the point where we're like, girl, don't do it, that kind of stuff. But that has to be created and cultivated, and that
Mhm.
can't be done until a woman is able to show you her scars or her ugly side, and you're able to say, I receive you and accept you anyway.
Yeah.
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 You know what that makes me think about? So one, that's what my current inner sister circle is. Like Trenace is a part of my current inner
Mhm.
sister circle, and Ashley and Neff
Mhm.
are our other sisters.
Mhm.
And because I was dealing with so much self-judgment, self-condemnation, I needed to be around women who saw through who I saw myself as and
Mm.
saw me as the beautiful, amazing woman that I am, and
Mhm.
allowed me to organically open up. And it was just like y'all was just like, yeah. It was like y'all were pouring into me and telling me you're fine the way you are.
Mhm.
Whatever your experience has been with women, we're not here bringing that type of energy. Like,
Mm.
we just want you to be like, it was a call forward for me to
Mhm.
just be my authentic self. And it
Mm.
took a while for me to open up, but there was so much patience and grace,
Mm.
in that space to where it was just like, okay,
Mhm.
safe here. I
Mhm.
felt a little toe in the water, be like, okay.
Mhm. You know what? I think all of us were doing that. And I think that's what it takes. It takes taking a risk. But I
Yeah.
think all of us were like put our toe in the water with each other and taking a step here and there. I
Yeah.
remember one car ride where I was like, I'm not ready to take this deep dive with y'all. I'm not ready. But at the end of it, you all still received me. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and I would say it's not that to go back to our question, it's
Mhm.
not that we can get along with every woman.
Right.
It's
Right.
not that we're supposed to have um, the most sacred and closest relationships with every woman, but
Yeah.
I believe every woman needs to have her circle.
Yeah.
Every woman needs to have somebody that
Mhm.
she can be all of those things with,
Mhm.
and she receives all of somebody else, no matter what.
Yeah.
That's I don't even know what I would do now without that in my life. And I feel for women whose answer to this question is no,
Yeah.
because they have been hurt
Mhm.
and they have been broken, and their trust has been broken. They have been judged when they thought it was a safe space and they put themselves out there. They got talked about. Like, there's so many horror stories that
Mhm.
we've seen and experienced, and it takes us being that for somebody, and
Mhm.
it takes us venturing out to be that and
Mhm.
allow somebody to be that for us. It's
Yeah.
just it's magical on the other side if you can dare to do it.
Yeah. And that when you said that, that made me think about those women. I was thinking about that before you even mentioned it, about those women who don't have the type of experience that we've had, to
Mhm.
have that safe space, and has had traumatic experiences with women. So it's like, what would you say to that woman who has been, it's almost like a woman who's been in a relationship with a man and she's had so many negative experiences that she's afraid to open up. Like, she
Mhm.
don't have no more risk taking in her, to put that toe in the water to try to cultivate something with a woman. Like, how, where does she go?
Yeah. Where does she start? So
Yeah.
I I'm gonna say three things come to mind, and somewhere it might feel or sound cliche, but I'm still gonna say it because I
Mhm.
believe it to be true. So I'm first gonna say it has only helped me to process my trauma, my issues in counseling, and whatever that looks like for you, to be able to release and talk through things that you've been going through. Because if not, I would have been holding things in
Mm.
never processing what I was going through, so that I would have never even felt safe trying to express myself to anybody else, right? But the more I've been thinking and processing and getting some good counsel from a counselor, I think it has helped me articulate my thoughts a little bit better to someone I'm willing to take the risk to. So I
Yeah.
would just say, starting with processing your own stuff within you, journaling, wherever you need to start financially. Maybe you don't have all the wherewithal. There are a lot of resources out here right now, but I would just say start somewhere. Maybe it's a spiritual advisor, wherever you feel like you need to start that processing piece, I think, is important inside of you, because what that also does is it starts to open you up. It's
Yeah.
almost like a closed hand or a closed mouth doesn't get fed, right?
Mhm.
So you open yourself up a bit more when you leave room, when you release and leave room for some stuff. The second thing I would say is, I believe that we've all thought about uh, a relationship, a sistership with somebody,
Mhm.
and it's either been an opportunity that we haven't ventured on, or we haven't taken the risk. We see somebody who just looks pleasant in a
Yeah.
class that we're taking, or at church, or we go to the store. I have invited women that I at work that I didn't know well, that I want to know well, invited them for coffee. I
Yeah.
mean, at the very least, it'll just be coffee. We'll never talk again because we didn't connect well. But we've decided coffee a month, is going to be our thing, because we connected in a way that allowed us to want to continue. So I would just say, if you've seen someone, if you've gotten a gut feeling, take the risk and invite her. Just do something low risk for you.
Right.
Something temporary, low risk for you that would allow you to venture out and do something different with that. I'll stop with those two. Anything you can think of?
So when I think about me, and what that would look like, thinking about that from that person's perspective, definitely counseling. That was helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started counseling in 2013 and I started Real Women in 2013, those two tools, those two places I could go to process my stuff, my trauma, my past experiences, that helped me to open up.
Mm-hmm.
And in Real Women, I got to observe women.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for a woman to put herself in environments where there are women who are working on themselves, doing some type of personal development work,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can see who you naturally gravitate towards. I think
Mm-hmm.
it was a very organic process and natural process for us to connect. And I think
Mm-hmm.
a God thing, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, for us to connect and for our sisters to connect with each other. And so I think, we put ourselves in the environment and then it just organically happened.
Yeah.
So leave room for that, that we don't always have to be the ones to figure it out always.
Yeah.
Just put
Yeah.
ourselves in the environment where, God can move on people's hearts and even our own hearts.
I
Yeah.
love that. And so what's funny is my third thing was going to be Real Women. And I was like,
Okay.
it's so corny. It's so corny to be up here and say that. But
Real.
I love how you framed it. You framed it so much more professionally than I would have. Um, so glad you did that. But I honestly, I love that you said that, because putting ourselves in an environment where that feeling of non-judgment, that feeling of sisterhood permeates the atmosphere,
Yeah.
makes it okay. If
Yeah.
you think about, like, this is such a wild example. I hope it's not too much of a departure, but if you think like if you've been in an abusive home, like
Yeah.
you're always like this on
Yeah.
10 in that house, like
Mhm.
that's the feeling that's in the
Yeah.
house, and it
Mhm.
permeates your being, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Versus someone who has not experienced that in a home. It's just like, I'm celebrated, I'm appreciated. Like it exudes out of you because of your environment. Well,
Yeah.
if we put ourselves in that environment, and honestly, that's why I really believe women can get along, because I really don't connect with no women that don't get along with me, like all those double negatives I just said. Like I'm not connecting. If I see we're not going to connect, I'm not going to break my neck to stay in a relationship with somebody I'm not. I mean, I will love you from afar. I will appreciate you and respect you from afar.
Right.
So I'm only putting myself in spaces where I can receive sisterhood and give it.
Yeah,
I think that makes such a big difference.
it does. It
Mhm.
absolutely does. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
That
So,
was good.
yeah. So our answer is yes, women
Yes.
get along. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So that's our deep dive. Now let's move into our next segment.
Put myself in her shoes. We coming up for air just a little bit. We coming
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Put myself in her shoes.
Mhm.
So, with this segment, we're going to be talking about trending topics, questions that you may have when you write into us in our message box, or if with us individually, or however you want to reach out to us to send us a question, scenarios that we may see that we just want to talk about on a lighter note. But the rules of the game are
Mhm.
put myself in her shoes,
Mhm.
because that is the essence of Real Women. We don't just give advice to our sister. If our sister is sharing something, we don't be like, well, what you should do. We
Mhm.
don't do that. We
Mhm.
put ourselves in her shoes and we start with our own experience or
Mhm.
our own take on it before we offer anything to our sister. And so we want to model that in this podcast. So let's put
Mhm.
ourselves in somebody's shoes
I'm
today.
ready. I'm
All right.
ready. Mhm.
Okay, y'all. So if you are, in the social media world, if you listen to radio in the morning when you're driving to work, you may have heard about this story from Shirley Strawberry on the Steve Harvey Morning Show,
Mhm.
whose phone conversations with her estranged husband, who is in jail right now, were leaked for the
Mhm.
public consumption, months worth of conversations, and they have been released, on a weekly basis. Just private conversations. I know they're being recorded, but they're private conversations, and just people are weighing in on them. Just all the kind of stuff that you can think about are in conversations were in these, and it's just so
Mhm.
unfortunate. And so the question is, how would you handle your private conversations, your pillow talk with your significant other, or if it's just, conversations in the group chat? Because sometimes
Mhm.
we have some conversations in the group chat that we
Mhm.
don't want to be privy to. So, how would you feel about that being leaked for
Mm.
public consumption, for
Mm.
everybody to weigh in on it?
Woo, child. Can I put myself in her shoes?
Put yourself in her shoes.
Okay, so putting myself in her shoes, Lord, I'm praying for her.
Yeah,
And, I've heard all the things, heard her share and apologize and all of that.
yeah,
Putting myself in her shoes, first of all, it made me um, sad for those who have these household names who are known really well. I used to want to be one of those folks. I used to want to see my name in lights and
yeah,
be, popular. And I decided I don't have to have that
yeah.
anymore. It's just,
It's so much that comes with that. It's like, oh my God.
gosh, people just in your business that don't, have anything to do with it. None.
Mm-hmm.
And so putting myself in her shoes, hindsight is 2020, but I
Mm-hmm.
know that I have had pillow talk that I
Yeah.
would not want recorded. And yes, she was in a different scenario, knowing, where she was and what was being recorded, but it was her husband and she was trying to connect with him. And, how who among us has not found ourselves
Right.
Ooh, um,
Ooh.
saying some things that maybe we shouldn't have said, or that in the context or the environment that we shouldn't have said it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I personally believe, she has a right, I have a right to my feelings,
Yeah.
my opinions. I believe that I should have a safe space to share them with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I personally just have to be extra mindful of this social media world and this, where every cell phone, somebody could be recording you while they're looking like they just taking their own picture, or looking at their
Right.
phone. They are
Right.
literally taking a picture of you like
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's some scary stuff. And so it makes me, putting myself in her shoes makes me extra cautious.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have done exactly what she did. I would have apologized. I would hope that I
Mm-hmm.
would have just owned it and
Yeah.
apologized if all of my private conversation was put on Front Street. What I know now that I
Mm-hmm.
did not know before, when I was probably my most scared of what people thought of me,
Mm-hmm.
is that when I am honest and vulnerable, even when it doesn't make me look good or look the best, the people who love me are gonna love me anyway.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
the people who are looking for a reason not to like me are
Yeah.
not gonna like me anyway.
Anyway. Yep.
So yeah, so I would own it, if I put myself in her shoes, and try to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel similar. So putting myself in her shoes, my heart breaks for her.
Mhm,
um,
mhm,
because of the embarrassment that comes with that, because of the shame, the guilt that comes with that. And that just does something, because it's like I have to look at myself in
mhm,
the mirror,
mhm,
because of the circumstances, and just feeling like I'm talking, like you said, I'm having a conversation with my significant other who I have, done life with
mhm,
for 8 years. And this is someone who I think I can talk to, you know? And
Mhm.
so for everything to come out and how it is, it's just so embarrassing.
Mhm.
I know how that feels. I haven't had definitely anything on this level, but I know how it feels to think one thing about your significant other, but then to find out another.
Mhm.
That is like the rug being pulled up from up under you. So
Mhm.
dealing with that on top of all of this stuff being leaked and some of the conversations that have been had is just like, this is too much.
Too much.
I think that I would just want to go away and retreat somewhere, you know, just to find my bearings because
Mhm.
all these voices would just, you know, take me under, you know what I mean? And just the depression and all of that. So I just wouldn't be able to stay connected. Definitely to social media, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to stay connected because it's just too many voices, too many
Mhm.
negative, you know, too much negative energy that's permeated over and over. You see the blogs and the headlines and all those things. So I wouldn't be able to heal in that environment.
Mhm.
And so I would have to kind of steal away and disconnect and just hopefully lean on the people who are offering me grace in this season, who are there 10 toes down in the midst of what I'm going through, and you know, find solace in just like, God, please help me, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Whew. So our thoughts and prayers go out to her, uh,
Mhm.
and anyone else who, we've all been there at some point where embarrassment and some level of shame, like
Yeah.
finding ways to release that so that you can move
Mhm.
on. That is all of our plight at some point.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
So yep, so we put ourselves in her shoes,
Mm.
and our hearts and prayers go out to her.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right, so our last segment, sister, go ahead.
Oh, sister. It's the last one. We did it.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, this last segment is going to be a spiritual nugget. We are faithful women, like we are full of knowing that God is with us. And for you, remember, there's no judgment here. So, whatever expression of God that is for you, whatever spiritual nugget, whatever aspect of spirituality you can take from this, we want that for you. It's our gift to you, and it's just a nugget to think about. And honestly, sometimes it'll come from a Christian perspective, sometimes it'll come from another faith tradition, and sometimes it'll just be a nugget of wisdom that we can kind of walk away with. And again, it's not us uh, telling you or kind of giving you what you should do. It really is just a thought for us to consider as we close out our episode. And so I was thinking about everything that we just talked about. And I am a Christian minister, although I teach world religions. So I have a respect for all of them. But there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about a three-stranded cord and
Mm,
how a three-stranded cord cannot be easily broken.
mm,
The interpretation of that is that if you are by yourself and isolated, then that kind of cord is thin and easily broken. But
mm,
to have other cords, so other people, to have a faith in God that will hold you and sustain you, in a relationship, whether it's you and your boo or your partner and God, whatever you interpret that as, isolation is a breeding ground for brokenness.
mm, mm,
Isolation is a breeding ground for brokenness. Uh,
mm,
and so a three-stranded cord allows us to know that we need to have at least one or two places we can go,
mm,
um, one or two safe spaces, one or two community members, whatever that seems like to you as a stronger bond that will hold you together in those most difficult times.
Mm.
And in turn, you can be there for that other person in that other scenario when you are needed, when they need you. I would just hope that we would all find our strands, that we would not be isolated cords out here, so that we can, because at our essence, the last thing I'll say is at our essence, we are whole.
Mhm.
Our expression of ourselves is aspects of who we are,
Yeah.
making up a whole being.
Mm. Mm.
Are, we are whole. We
Yes.
are whole. And so the way that we can express that in life is to connect with other people
Oh,
who lift that up out of us,
yeah.
so that we're always reminded
Yeah.
that we are beautiful no matter what's going on, that all of those things that are in us, are there regardless of what we are thinking and experiencing within
Mm.
ourselves. A three-stranded cord is not easily broken. Real talk.
That's yummy goodness. That's yummy goodness. Mm. Say la. Yes.
Selah,
Yeah.
Selah. This has been good.
We
We
did
did.
it, our first little episode. Yes.
Oh, this has been real women, real talk.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah. This is what it has been, and this is what we wanted it to be. So
Yeah,
we just gonna grow from here, y'all. We excited.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. We'll
Yeah.
see y'all soon. We are real women and real women talk.
Yes, they do all day.